Hi, this is Lisa, and you are listening to I Love That Movie. This podcast is for movie lovers. It's not an unbiased opinion, it's not a straightforward review, it's just a couple people talking about a movie that they love. The format is each week I have a guest, and that guest and I discuss a movie that they love, something they're obsessed with, something they connect with. We'll talk about the plot, the director, and the actors, but we'll also talk about the personal connection my guest has with that movie. So if that sounds like something you want to listen to, keep listening. Hey, this is Lisa, and if you want to catch up with me on Twitter or X, you can find me at ILTM Podcast, also on Instagram at I Love That Movie Podcast, and we have a Patreon. My show is always free, but if you want to support me on there, you can. That's at patreon.com/I Love That Movie. And if you like what you hear today, please subscribe and rate the show. It does help new listeners find us. We've got a great episode for you. Have a returning voice on the podcast we haven't heard from in a while. I have Kara. Say hi, Kara.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me back. I'm excited to be here and talk about fun movies that you should watch if you haven't seen them already.
Yes. And Kara, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself just a little bit in case the audience hasn't heard you before.
Yeah, no problem. So my name's Kara. Lisa and I have been friends since literally forever, like kindergarten. And so I am an anthropologist by trade, super nerd who keeps going to school and getting more useless degrees in the social sciences. And I am also a big movie nerd and love talking about fun movies that are usually action movies on this channel in particular. And can't wait to talk to you about this one.
Somewhat of a professional podcaster as well.
Yes. I also do a podcast for a nonprofit called Recovering from Religion. And we do that show on Monday nights at 7 p.m. Central Time.
Yeah.
Check us out.
Check it out. And so, as Kara said, we've known each other personally for a long time, since we were little. And I think, my guest always picks the movie, right? But recognizing that it's Women's History Month, what movie did you choose to talk about today?
So I chose a movie that I can't wait to talk about in the context of Women's History Month, because I think this movie features what I am going to call a feminist icon. But I think this character has gone through some history.
Yes.
And I'm excited to talk about this particular film today, where I think this character got a reboot to where we can actually call her a feminist icon, which is important in Women's History Month. And that has not always been the case for the title character of this film. And I hope we can get into that discussion as well.
That's true. And you're hearing from qualified she and they talking about, Women's History Month and this character. Probably not the pinnacle of feminism and women. She doesn't represent all women, but I think you're right. I think there's been an evolution of this character in the context of pop culture that is interesting to talk about and think about. So we're talking about Tomb Raider 2018, so not 2001.
No. Not that one.
But you and I also have a personal history with Tomb Raider in general. Like, I would say, not only did we enjoy 2001's iteration when it came out, but also the games. I have never really played the games, but spent quite a few times in my childhood watching Kara play the games.
Yes, I subjected you to many years of the Tomb Raider PC game franchise from the beginning. I had the original one in the 1990s, and I think I've played all of them.
That's so cool.
It's one of my favorite like game series actually. Even though it, and we'll get into it later, I would say it was a bit problematic in the sense of kind of objectifying the main character for some time, but I think it's gone away from that in recent years, especially since they've had particularly women writing and developing the newer games. And you can definitely see that in the new games. And I think it also comes out in the movie in 2018, which is based on the new Tomb Raider game trilogy.
Yeah. So, if you've heard some of our other episodes, Kara is also a huge fan of the Indiana Jones series,
Mhm.
and in fact, inspired them into the world of anthropology and academia in some ways.
Yes. Yes,
Um,
I work with museums now, and every once in a while I get to say something like it belongs in a museum. Although Indiana Jones, as we've talked about on the previous episode, is not a great example of an archaeologist doing ethical things.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, definitely was an influence.
Yeah, and Tomb Raider at the time, Lara Croft, she was probably the only example that we had. There weren't a lot of in the 90s women leads in games, period, much less in an Indiana Jones ish role.
Right.
So, when the 2001 movie came out, and I'll only briefly touch on that just for a minute, I liked it. I like Angelina
Hmm.
Jolie. She was huge at the time. Was it a deep movie? No. But in the era of like, action 1990s flicks, it was decent. And so, there was a sequel. Interestingly enough, this movie in 2018 made about the same money as the original, although that made it somewhat of a flop. Actually, it didn't quite pull in the numbers. It made more than the sequel, but when you factor in inflation and things like that, it didn't make as much. And I
Hmm.
kind of want to dissect or think about
Yeah.
why. I have some thoughts on why
Hmm.
this one may not have made as much money, but I honestly don't think it has a lot to do with the central character. I think there are some things about the film that maybe could have been different,
Yes.
that are not to the fault of Alyssa Vikander.
Hmm.
And I think audiences agree. And then I also found out that as recently as 2025, there was a little bit of a resurgence with this movie on Netflix, and it's actually done a lot better, and has
Hmm.
contributed to, we're going to have like another Tomb Raider iteration, which we can talk about later, that I think might address some of these things that maybe could have been
Hmm.
improved upon, but part of the evolution. So,
Yeah.
um, I want to say before we go too much further that if you haven't seen the 2018 version, I was saddened to find out you have to rent it. Like it, I kind of
Uh-huh.
assumed I would go just find it on HBO Max or something, but I did rent it, so you can rent it on Amazon Prime or iTunes, which is now just I think Apple TV.
Hmm.
But I'll go ahead and read the synopsis quickly in case you're not familiar with the gaming lore or this movie. So here we go. Lara Croft is the fiercely independent daughter of an eccentric adventurer who vanished years earlier. Hoping to solve the mystery of her father's disappearance, Croft embarks on a perilous journey to his last known destination, a fabled tomb on a mythical island that might be somewhere off the coast of Japan. The stakes couldn't be higher, as Laura must rely on her sharp mind, blind faith, and stubborn spirit to venture into the unknown. I keep saying Laura. I think this is because I'm American.
Yeah.
That's not what they call her in the movie. Lara Croft.
Yes, it is set usually like her home is in England and
Mhm,
her family and friends call her Lara,
mhm,
and it is the same in the games, but
mhm.
I think I do usually sort of tend towards the American pronunciation, but it is also spelled Lara
It's
rather than
spelled,
having a U in it, so
yeah, it
I
is
was
spelled Laura.
yeah.
Um, I think maybe the southern drawl comes out a little bit too, Laura.
Yeah, same
Um,
same for me. So we're in it together with that. We'll do our
yes,
best.
we'll do our absolute best. But kind of when I was rewatching this, I realized I hadn't thought about the lore
Hmm.
of Lara Croft in a long time, and Tell me if you agree or not.
Hmm.
I do wonder if a lot of this movie is spent kind of crafting her origin so that there's a lot of great action, CGI and real effects, and she does some impressive like stunt work and things like that. Although she does have a stunt double, but she does a lot of impressive work. I almost wonder if they spent maybe a little bit too much time
Hmm.
into her turning into Lara. And so maybe that's why it kind of had a rocky beginning, maybe.
I think you might be right about that because even though I do like some of those early scenes and they do kind of set up her character a little bit, they do spend a long time on that. And given that this movie, if you've played the games, the most recent sort of trilogy of games, this movie is essentially the plot of the
The
first
newer
reboot of the
game.
game
Yeah.
in 2013 that was Tomb Raider, and then after that there was the Rise of the Tomb Raider and Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And I think the plan was to make movies out of each of them,
Oh,
but
okay.
MGM, I think, lost the rights while they were in the process of making the second
Yeah,
one.
back in 2022.
Yes.
Yeah.
And even though this movie actually follows the plot of the game quite closely, that first part of the movie is all extra. The game actually starts at the point of the shipwreck where
Yes,
she
that's what Nick
and
was
Lou
saying.
are being shipwrecked. And then the game starts at that point and you're having the adventure on the island, and it doesn't have all this extra. There are some of the flashbacks and things like that, of course, to kind of give you the context about her past and her backstory. But they did spend a lot of time adding those extra scenes at the beginning. And I do think that if the goal was to make a movie of the game, uh, that part was extra.
Yeah, I think around this time I don't know. I wonder too if they were trying to make it more grounded
Hmm.
than the games are. I mean, the original games have like dinosaurs and giant spiders, but I don't know,
Yeah.
maybe I'm in the minority here. I think that would have been fun, and maybe they
Yeah.
should have leaned into that because it worked in 2001.
Hmm.
And I think that in the past couple few years, we've noticed that people are totally okay with like campy, ridiculous, over the top stuff because
Yeah.
there's a reason why people love these games. You don't necessarily have to ground her into this like really believable character. Like she's a rich millionaire that lives in a mansion and is an anthropologist. Like that's not realistic, but that's okay. Like neither
Yeah.
with Indiana Jones was not realistic.
No, and anthropologists are not wealthy, just so you know.
They're
It is
not. I'm
not
just
one of
kidding.
those things you go to school for to make money.
And neither are archaeologists. Yeah. Uh,
Yes, anyone who's thinking about that, stop now and reevaluate your life choices.
yeah. I mean, there is a world where you can imagine like an eccentric millionaire that like spends a lot of time on finding some sort of elixir of eternal life, and like there's some of it that
Mhm.
I can go with, and but I think that like the plot should stay simple
Yes.
and just let it speak for itself. Like it's meant to be fun and enjoyed, and
Hmm.
like I don't know that we need her to be serious. What I
Right.
wanted to ask you, and I know I'm kind of veering off like my standard script here, but
No,
like,
you're good.
what do you think about like the casting of Alyssa Vikander? She's a Swedish actress, and I remember her predominantly from there was a project that she worked on that I remember her the most from, and it was I'm letting it load. Oh, Ex Machina, where I kind of
Oh,
thought she was honestly at first glance thought she was like Natalie Portman, and then but she wasn't. She was excellent in that movie. That was the first time I ever saw her. But what do you think of her cast as Lara Croft? Like when you look at her compared to Angelina Jolie, or even compared to the games?
yeah. So I was initially surprised as well, and I didn't really recognize her. I realized that she was from Ex Machina, but I didn't even like physically recognize her when I saw like the movie poster. Um, and I was at first kind of unsure, but I will say, as it relates to the games, she does look, I think, very
Mm,
much like the character in the new games in many
okay.
ways. And I think she does a good job of kind of moving and speaking and portraying that character.
Sure.
But you're right, it is a huge departure from what they had done previously. Like with Angelina Jolie in the role in the earlier films, they kind of um were really playing up the
Sex appeal.
physicality,
Yeah.
the sex appeal, and even like, okay, so Angelina Jolie in 2001 was already one of those like unattainably beautiful actors that like no one could ever possibly aspire to look that good. And then on top of that, they have like this massive unrealistic bra padding going on.
Yeah.
Like it was over the top. And they didn't do that at all in this one. You know,
Right.
you see that she's wearing like kind of that expected Tomb
Yeah.
Raider outfit where it's the grayish greenish tank top, and notably not short shorts, it's actual pants, you know, as one would wear to go on an adventure in hostile environments. But she's, I don't want to say she looks like a regular person because she does, but she's obviously very athletic and very fit. And I thought that was great. And I actually really liked that they didn't play up this, let's give her enormous boobs.
Yeah. She's also 5'3". Like she's
Yeah.
really small, and she almost has more of like she is very fit, but she looks like, her background is, she's like an actress and like also a dancer, and she very much
Mhm.
has like a dancer physique, I would say, almost
Yes.
like ballerina type. Maybe that's why I was thinking of like Natalie Portman for a second.
Yeah.
But
That movie was creepy.
I love that movie. It's messed up. Um, I think that that like I kind of, I'm conflicted. I remember we actually kind of argued about her casting right when this was first
Yes.
announced, and
Hmm.
I was very much, you were like, she doesn't look like physically a very strong, person. And I said, yeah, but like if you look at Indiana Jones, like he's not buff. We're kind of, a lot of things he does, is he really handsome? Yeah, but he's also got this like rugged look to him, and I think that that's what kind of sells it. I will say Alyssa Vikander, I'm gonna flop on my defense earlier about like, well, they
Yeah.
can be small, they can be feminine, they can be,
Yeah.
but I'll admit, like, she looks like a dancer, like a model. Like, she doesn't
Yeah.
really look like somebody who would be
Yes.
crawling around in a tomb. I mean, that is true. And I wonder,
Yeah.
like, my husband and I were talking about it, Nick, and he was saying that, this latest casting that they have, she's like,
Hmm.
physically taller.
Hmm.
She's put on a lot of muscle. Like, I'm very conflicted how I feel about that, because in real life, people don't necessarily have to have like cartoonishly fit physiques to do ordinary things. And like,
Right.
there's even movies that are massively popular that shouldn't work. Like, in Terminator, Arnold Schwarzenegger is supposed to like blend in and not
Yeah.
look like a giant robot guy, and that's absurd to think that you would pick him as someone to blend in the future
Right.
anywhere.
Looks
Um,
nothing like
like,
anyone else on the planet.
right. And yet we all suspend disbelief for him. Like, so
Yes.
in that way, like, can't I suspend disbelief for Alyssa Vikander? And like, I think
Hmm.
she's doing a great job. I sometimes wonder if it's less to do with her physicality, and for me, maybe like there's a charisma that Angelina Jolie just had, like a
Yes.
star quality,
Yeah.
a magnetism that I think Alyssa Vikander's a little bit more of like an understated personality.
I
I don't
agree.
know. So I'm
Yeah.
conflicted on how I feel about it.
I think you're exactly right. Like, I think the thing that Angelina Jolie brought to the role was that kind of charisma to the character where she felt larger than life, and like you were playing a game or
Yeah.
watching a game with this character who is a big personality, and is, you know, running around and doing impossible things and, you know, spinning around in the air on cables in her mansion and shooting people with this never ending arsenal of guns and driving around in all of her cars and things. And she was able to make that work, because of her personality. I completely agree with that. And I do think Alyssa brought a lot more understatement to it. And I agree with you too. She's a physically small person.
Yeah.
And although she clearly like trained extensively and is very fit for the role, she's not super buff. You know, she
Yeah.
doesn't look like a bodybuilder. She doesn't look like she's someone who's trained for this. The reason I'll forgive it in this, and I've kind of rethought my position on that too. The reason I
Well,
think I'll
me
forgive
too.
it,
Yeah. Like
yeah,
on
is
both angles.
yeah, with this as an origin story, she was not supposed to be prepared for that. She was supposed to be a
True.
regular person
That's true.
who kind of got thrust into this. And this is where I do think a couple of those early scenes in the film are important, even though
Yeah,
we
that's
did spend a
true.
long time on the build up. But we see her like, okay, her hobby is boxing,
Yeah.
and then she does this sort of contest where she's trying to earn money because she's
Yeah.
very poor because she hasn't received her inheritance yet, where she's, you know, riding around on this bicycle through the city. And in both cases, although you can see that she has this grit and she's a very physical person, and she's gutsy and everything like that, she loses at everything.
Yeah.
Like she loses her sparring match with her partner in the boxing ring or the MMA, whatever kind of fighting they're doing, which is, you know, another female presenting person, unlike in the original Tomb Raider, where you see, you know, Angelina Jolie, you know, in, you know, fist fights with very large, buff, aggressive looking men that are kind of like, okay, I love this, and I love that we're having this feminist moment of women can throw punches too, but it kind of, it looks a little bit imbalanced.
Yeah. It was like in real life when people fight in a ring, they
Hmm.
keep in mind weight class.
Right.
And yeah, it just, that's, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and in this one, they had her up against someone, you know, of
About
a,
her
you know,
size.
some
Yeah.
similar size, and she, you know, does a great job, you know, trying to fight. She has great spirit, and she loses, and that's okay. And she's like, oh,
That's
I'm gonna
true.
come back and win next time. And then the next scene we see her in, she does this bicycle race situation, and she's doing great. She's obviously very fit. She's smart. She's using, you know, good strategies and trying to trick people and stuff to get away. And then she loses that too because she
Yeah.
gets distracted and she loses focus, and then she gets hit by a car.
And it
And
forces her to accept her inheritance, which kicks off the
mhm.
chain of the events in the movie.
Right, exactly. So I do feel like because of all that, I'm willing to forgive. Okay, it's okay that she, you know, may look like an unrealistic person for this role because she wasn't
She's on her
supposed to be.
start of her hero's journey. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, she's not yet prepared. She's still kind of a kid in this role, and she's going to grow into it. And unfortunately, we don't get to see that whole character arc because they didn't make the second movie.
Yeah, and they were going to, like you said, if they hadn't lost the rights.
Yeah.
I do think, and again, like I think it's a little bit of an enigma to me why I feel some of the things that I feel, and why, like, as a larger audience this wasn't bigger over here. So I'm kind of dissecting it with you, but also recognizing that it's well told. Like if you look at the reviews in the of this movie, they say that she did a great job, and
Hmm.
that, you know, she is convincing, and like that it's a well told story. So I mean, not trying to take anything away from it. I think another element that I thought was interesting was they give her kind of a love interest, not really,
Hmm.
with the character Lu Ren, who's played by Daniel Wu. How do you feel about her? I'll call it a relationship, but there's not really a relationship
Hmm.
in the movie. Sometimes I wondered if we needed him in the movie at all.
Hmm.
Like, if you were to erase him from the movie, did we need that character? That's question one. And then
Uh-huh.
question two would be, like, how do you feel about him as a friend, a partner in the movie? Like, you know, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is something that I actually really liked. And I love the way that you just phrased it. Like, did we really need him? I think that is such a great contrast to some other films that
Yes.
have a female lead that really need this man to take care of them.
Yeah.
And in this case, you know, we're kind of left going, Do we need that guy? Not really. He was a sidekick at best. And it didn't become a love story thing where
Yeah, they were
they have to
careful
get
not
together
to
in the
make it
end.
that, which I
Yeah,
thought, well, maybe they introduced him because, like, let's say you watch Indiana Jones. He's always
yeah.
got a love interest, a sidekick
Mm-hmm.
that is a woman. So maybe this was an homage to that.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes I felt that at times the storylines with him could be distracting because it's like, okay, we got all that backstory. Now we're on a boat. Now the boat
Yeah.
crashed. Now we're on this island. Now there's this plot around these people that are being kept as slaves, and he's gonna like be the leader of the slaves with her.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was thinking for a lot of the movie that Daniel Wu was gonna be the villain. Like I
Oh,
kept thinking like this is too convenient, he's going to turn. And then no, we meet the real villain, which is, and I didn't realize this until I was rewatching it, freaking Walton
it's
Goggins.
Walden Goggins.
Who is such a interesting guy because he looks so specific, but he's kind of a little bit of a chameleon here because
Yeah.
he's not playing like his standard. It feels like he's almost always a southern guy that's either a villain or just really leaning into that cowboyness of himself. He's not that in this movie, but he's the main villain. And so,
Mm-hmm.
like, when I first watched this, for a lot of it, I kept going, oh, wait, why is Walton Goggins here? I think the villain's going to be Daniel Wu. So, like, that's why sometimes it breaks the tradition of what his character is because
Mm-hmm.
because Daniel Wu is so handsome. So I kept thinking, so is he the love interest or is he, like I couldn't really quite figure out what to do with him, and sometimes I felt like the movie also wasn't sure what his role
Yeah.
was.
And I think he was kind of an extra character addition to the story that wasn't necessary to the story and isn't really necessary to the story in the game. Um, I don't actually remember that character much from the game. I can't remember if he's in it at all. I'm sure he must be, but he's not a big part of it. And that may be a little bit of why they had trouble integrating him into it. But I kind of loved that awkwardness of it. It was like, what if there's just this random dude that we didn't really need because we had this handled?
Yeah, that's true. Or is the connection that they have, friendship or otherwise, going to evolve later on? Because
Hmm.
but yeah, there's like zero chemistry between them. That's the other
Also
interesting
that.
thing. So like, were they planning on something and then they decided like this isn't going to work and so they went in another direction? Like I genuinely felt like most of the time in movies, if somebody's introduced, there's a very specific reason. So I
Hmm.
wondered with him, but that
Yeah.
again, um, there's a lot of locations I felt like in this movie too. So I wondered a little bit about that, like the plot of the people that need to be freed. Was that in the game?
Those people were there in the game,
Okay.
and you do spend time kind of, running around and encountering people and things like that. Um, but there wasn't a big like side plot about this Lou guy trying to free them. There was, I think, okay, now I'm trying to remember all the ins and outs of the plot in the game. Um, I think there is a part where you do some things to disrupt, what's going on. But it's not a super huge part of it, if I'm
Okay.
recalling correctly. But they are there. Those people are there,
Okay.
and they're forcing people to work on this island, and it's obviously, you know, oppressive and coercive, and they have kidnapped people to do their bidding.
In the game, the storm that happens is tied to a device. Does that happen in the movie as well? I
Um,
don't think it did because I don't
no,
remember that watching it.
yeah, I feel like in the movie it just kind of at one point they talk about how this area
Oh, has
of the
storms.
ocean
Okay,
is very
okay.
dangerous and has a lot of storms, and there's a lot of implication in the film that maybe there's a little bit of,
There's a little bit of
sort
a
of
a
a
little woo woo, a
magical
little yeah.
thing going on.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I you could probably infer if you wanted to that the storms were a part of that, but
Okay,
I
okay.
don't
I was
think they
curious about that.
go into a lot of detail about it.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
so those are like the three main people, and then also Dominic West as Richard Croft, obviously.
Yeah.
Which, they do a little switcheroo on us where they're like, oh, he's dead. Oh, actually, he's on this island and he left all these clues. And then he's like, you weren't supposed to come here. And you're like, well, why'd you leave all these clues?
Yeah, exactly. Leave all these
But
clues and
that's
then be
like,
like, but don't follow me. You have to burn all these clues that I've left in this box right here for you to pique your interest. Like, come on, you knew she was gonna come. You
yeah,
knew she was gonna come.
yeah. But I thought, he did a good job. That was an
Yeah.
interesting character. And Walton Goggins is sort of like the flip side of the dad character of like, he's been avoiding his family for the past 8 years, obsessed with this
Yeah.
Kimiko stuff. And then the dad is, absentee because he's protecting his family. Like, there was some interesting stuff with
Mhm.
that. I thought overall the plot was pretty good.
I liked it. And I know, like, I saw, like, some people's reviews of it. It did get kind of mixed reviews, and some of the reviews about it were like, oh, okay, now it's like a daddy issues kind of story. But I thought that was cute. I liked her relationship with her dad, and I thought he was a great character, and I felt like they had good chemistry together,
Hmm.
as a familial relationship. And I was really sad that he didn't make it. I
I
wanted to
know.
have a happy ending, but I knew they couldn't because in the game, she's an orphan.
Well, and like I was telling Nick, I said it's one of my pet peeves when they say someone's dead and then they come back and then they kill them immediately. I hate that.
Hmm.
not
Hmm.
that not that it's bad writing, but I just don't like it.
No, I don't like it either. Like, don't do that with me. When we find someone who's been lost, let's get to enjoy having found them.
But they that is something that happens in movies. What are your thoughts on like in the game was like the curse of Kimiko? Was it the same thing where it was like
Hmm.
a virus? Oh, okay,
I,
interesting.
I believe that's the case, yeah. And they were the evil corporation Trinity was trying to get get a hold of it as a weapon. If I'm remembering correctly, that all was pretty similar.
Yeah.
Um, and then they come back again in subsequent installments of the game, or kind
Oh,
of
interesting.
similar
Okay.
nefarious forces.
It's got kind of like a Bond-esque
It
vibe to
does.
it as
Yeah,
well.
it
Yeah.
does. They're like Spectre or whatever.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I thought
Um,
it did actually a pretty good job of following along with the plot, and even some of the scenes that are in the movie, like where she, gets away and floats down the river, and then she ends up kind of stuck on that old like airplane crash, and
I
the
mean,
river's
that's the
pulling
part I
it down.
remember the most.
Yeah, and that's from the game. That's one of the scenes from the game where you have to try and not get killed and get out of the plane and get away. So I loved that they had some of those scenes in the movie that were very suspenseful and tense, were actual. They were taken straight from the game. And I was like,
Oh,
oh,
that's
this is really
cool.
fun.
And I thought like the way that they reimagined her outfit as more realistic, I think
Yeah.
was good. Like it, you
Yes.
could imagine why someone would wear shorts, why someone would wear a tank top because it's hot. Like, I think they did a good job with that. What do you
Mhm.
think about the choice to not show her with the weapons till the very end of the game or the end of the movie? You don't see her iconic guns to the very end. She's got a
Yes.
bow and arrow most of the movie.
Yes, I found that a little bit disappointing because I do feel like that's her iconic look. She has to have those two guns holstered on both of her legs, which is, kind of an unconventional way to holster your weapons, but it's her iconic look. And I feel like it teased a sequel where that was going to
Yeah.
be what she used in the sequel. And then we didn't have the sequel, so that was disappointing. I would have loved to have seen her like training with them at least, or something, some
Yes.
scene where she like pulls them both out and is shooting while she's running and jumping, like what you're expecting from this game. I really do wish they had given us that. I will say that in the game, she does do a lot of bow and arrow
Oh,
shooting.
interesting. Okay, I was going to ask you about that because a part of me sort of rolls my eyes a little bit about at the bow and arrow only because that is so common. That is like a go-to of like anytime you have like a female tough lead, they
Hmm.
always have to have a bow and arrow. So I was kind of like, oh, here
Yes.
we go again with a bow and arrow. But if
Okay, Katniss.
yeah, if it's consistent with the games, then that's a really good explanation,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah.
It is consistent with the games, and the new set of games that this movie is based off of have like some more sort of mechanics to them where you have to do some crafting in the game and go and like collect resources so that you can, you know, craft your arrows and your eat
Oh,
food and
okay.
things. And you have to actually, in some cases, you can use the bow and arrow to kill food to eat. And it's a whole like kind of survival piece of
Oh,
it that's
okay.
kind of fun. It made sense to me that she had the bow and arrow in this movie, but I also wish that we'd gotten to see her using the guns because she does get guns in the game also.
I guess in the movie they don't have as much time to like flesh out certain things.
Yeah,
But I do wonder if, knowing the 2001, like knowing what the pop culture consciousness knows about Lara Croft,
yeah,
maybe that would have been helpful in getting it a little bit more front and center if people were going to see, okay, I expect to see somebody,
yes,
shooting these guns and doing these specific things. And it does in this movie take a while to see some of that stuff. And that might be why it did better on Netflix, because then people have like more time to sit
hmm
around, pause, come back to a movie. The stakes are lower because they're not paying for a ticket. Like,
yeah.
I wonder if that's part of why it did better digitally.
I think it might be too, and it may be that like more people had played the game by then, and
True.
then they decided, oh, I want to watch this movie. I see there's a movie about this game. Let's see how it is. And
Yeah.
then they're coming into it knowing what to expect. I do feel like the movie was kind of fan service for people who liked the games and that reboot of the games in particular. And I think you're right. They may have kind of lost a little bit of sight of the fact that Lara is a cultural icon outside of those games. Like people
Yeah.
that are not gamers oftentimes will know who that character is and may have certain expectations of what she looks like and how she acts and what she does. And they maybe didn't play that up enough. It's like if you've played the game, you'll probably love this movie. But if you haven't played the game, you might be wondering things like, where are her guns? And
it kind of reminds me of how, like, when Denis Villeneuve reimagined Dune, he did it closer to the books, like the source
Mhm.
material, but he made sure to include like the 1980 iconography that we've seen from David Lynch's version, because he recognized that, like, for some people that's all they've seen, so
Yeah.
you've got to still include some of that so that people will enjoy it. So I feel that the next iteration of this that they're doing is kind of blending those two
Yeah.
things together a little bit more. I think we've realized over time, like, it's fine to reboot something. You've just got to make sure you kind of include some things that people really love about it, because otherwise they're like, well, I'm missing that.
hmm
But at the same time, again, a solid film and a solid cast and, a pretty good story for like a first origin film.
I think so too. I thought they did a really good job with it, and I was looking forward to a sequel. But I'm now looking
Yeah.
forward to the new kind of rebooted version of the reboot of the sequel.
Yeah, and that one will be a series. It'll be, I think,
hmm
on what
I
is
think
it?
it's
Amazon?
Amazon.
Yeah,
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 I
yeah,
think
yeah.
Amazon has it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting. Happy to give my money to billionaires to watch a program about a billionaire. So
Part of me is kind of like, it's Sophie Turner, which again now we're picking. Alyssa Vikander was a little bit more of an unknown, and I think
mhm.
at the time, and I kind of liked that a little bit.
I
Like,
did
a part of me
too.
wishes that they had gone that route, but I'm gonna give it a fair shot.
hmm
And I think at least from the pictures, it looks really good. So,
Yeah.
you know,
Oh, I'm
I
excited for it. I'm definitely going to watch it and probably love it. I mean, I like the Angelina Jolie
me
versions, even though
too.
they are, I think objectively not nearly as good as this one. I still thought they were fun. And also, I don't know if you remember this or if you've seen the 2001 movie in a while. Do you remember who her love interest was in that one?
No.
It's Daniel Craig.
What? I'd have to go
Yes.
back and rewatch it. Oh
And
my goodness.
somehow
Did we
in
talk
that
about that on this
film,
podcast? I can't remember if
oh,
we have.
maybe I don't remember if we did.
We
I think
should.
we've talked about him in other films, but
Yeah.
like somehow, like despite the fact that I think it is well known that I believe this man to be probably the most classically attractive actor of our generation, somehow this film manages to make him look
Oh, he looks
dumpy and
terrible.
seem
I
terrible.
okay, I did know this. I do kind of remember this. I'm gonna look it up while we're talking. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Okay,
And
well,
I am like flabbergasted at how unlikable he is, and he's kind of a villain in it as well. But
yeah.
he's also like her ex, that's sort of a hanger on her sort of situation, and it's just he's so objectionable and dumpy and obnoxious and awful, and it's just so at odds with my mental catalog of him as 007.
Humble beginnings, you know.
Yes, yes,
Wow.
it's
Yes,
interesting.
okay, I do remember him. Oh my goodness. Yeah, he looks unrecognizable.
Yes, he does.
Um,
I literally did not remember that that was him until I recently watched it, because I do have those movies on DVD. And I
physical
did
media.
recently pull it out and watch it and was like, is that Daniel Craig? What?
No.
And it was.
So crazy. Okay, I'm gonna have to like rewatch that. But anyways,
I mean, it's not
uh
good,
yeah.
but
But it's
it's
nostalgic.
it's nostalgic and it's enjoyable, and I do have fun watching it. Like I
Yeah.
will it's one of those movies that we can all agree, okay, that's not like a great film that's going to win Academy Awards, but it is fun to watch.
Hmm.
And I think that's worth something.
I know we went on a little bit of a tangent there, but did I gloss over some scenes from this movie that we didn't get to talk about yet that you
Oh
wanted to
man,
discuss?
that's a great question. Okay, so we
Thank you.
talked about the early scenes where we
Hmm.
kind of see her as she's sort of a kid that
Hmm.
is struggling to find her way. And I did like those in a way, although I agree with you that they were, maybe taking up more space than they needed to.
Hmm.
And I did really like the scenes that were more true to the game, and that may be a me thing. And I think that may also be another reason that it didn't do as well with some other audiences too, that it might have been so niche, like where if you've played the game and you're watching the film, you're like, oh, this is the part where she's on that old rusty plane. And then,
I think that was one of the better parts of the movie, actually. I think
okay,
I
good. I'm
think
glad
I
you
think
like
that
it.
that point is when for me the movie really kicks off, because
Yeah.
now she's in that like action adventure piece of it. Oh, I also forgot
Mhm.
to mention there is a small cameo by Nick Frost, right? Like he's in the pawn shop. Isn't that him?
Oh,
Let me
oh, I
get
didn't
you. Yeah,
realize
yeah.
that. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yes, I thought that part was funny, and I don't
Yeah, that was
remember that
cute.
part being in the game. That part's not in the game because none of that part of the movie is in the game. The game starts at the
Gotcha.
shipwreck.
Yeah. I think they were just like, we need like a funny part here, and so they got
Yes.
Nick Frost. But yeah. Anyway,
I thought
back
that
to
part
what
was
you're.
funny too.
Me
And then
too.
when she goes back at the end to get her amulet back,
Yeah.
and his girlfriend is always mad at him because she thinks he's cheating on her.
Yeah. He's
Yeah,
being kind
I
of a
did
creep.
enjoy that.
Yeah.
That was good. And I like also, the scenes with Walton Goggins is just a delightful weirdo. And
Yes.
although this is not his weirdest role, he didn't camp it up all that much in this role, but he is still kind of a weirdo, and I love that for him
Yeah.
and for us watching.
He's committed to the bit. Like whatever he embodies, he's like, I'm gonna act like this, like I'm gonna get an award out of this. Like, and I like
Yes.
that about him. Like, he just comes across as someone that really loves his craft, and
Hmm.
I think that's part of why he is so popular, because he brings something to a character, even when it's small, that makes him super memorable.
Yes, I agree. And those scenes where like we're getting to know him, he just immediately like hammers home how awful he is.
Yeah.
When he's taken her things from her, and like within 5 minutes of meeting her, not only lies to her about the fact that she didn't get knocked out by hitting her head on a rock on the beach. His people walked up to her and knocked her out and captured her. And he tries to pretend like that's not what happened. And then within 5 minutes is telling her, oh yeah, by the way, I murdered your father. I guess he's really bad at murdering, though, because it turns out he didn't. Her father was still alive. I guess he survived the attempt, but we don't find out much about that. And then, not that long later, we find out, okay, he's basically, you know, operating this whole operation off of slave labor, and then he's, walking up and shooting people for being sick and threatening to shoot Lara for really no reason, just because
Yeah.
he's a vicious, awful person. And I do enjoy, what Walton Goggins just brings to his characters and how you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I hate this guy, and I
Mm-hmm.
love watching it.
Yeah, yeah, he's good. He's a love to hate it. It makes a lot of sense why you know, I'm not like, I guess speaking of games, I've been watching Fallout with Nick and
Hmm.
just finished it and I'm not that interested in those games. But the show is incredible if you haven't watched it, and what he brings to the ghoul character is honestly like some of his best work. It's incredible. Like it's
Yes.
so freaking good, and he's just a little bit of a chameleon because he does so many things so well, like comedy, drama. So yeah, love him as an actor, and good call out, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, he was great. So I really enjoyed those scenes, and then of course I like the scenes, and this may be another reason that maybe it didn't do as well with audiences, because it is very puzzle based. Like it
I love
feels like a
puzzles.
game, and I love that.
Yeah.
And I love that they get into all these situations where, okay, she has to figure out how to open the tomb, and then they get in there and it sets off a trap and the floor's falling out from underneath them, and she has to figure out how to open the door, and it feels like you're playing the game. And
Yeah.
I really like that, and I like puzzles to start with. So I have a great time with that. They could make a whole movie that's just they're solving puzzles the whole time, and I would love it. And I
I
like
love
that they do
that.
that.
We've been Nick has been playing Silent Hill 2, and those Silent Hill games have tons of puzzles in
Mm-hmm.
them. And that really hits a sweet spot for me. It's like horror and puzzles. And so like again, not really a gamer, so I actually watch him play it, but we solve the puzzles together. And because that's the
Yeah.
part that I enjoy.
Yes.
Um, so I think like I like that part of those films too.
Yeah.
I like the puzzles, and in Indiana Jones, there's always puzzles, right? Like
Exactly.
it's
That's how
part
this
of that
works.
kind of story. Yeah,
Yeah. Sadly, this never seems to happen in like real life
real life. Yeah,
archaeology. I know it's
no
weird.
puzzles. Sorry.
Yeah, but I like it in the movies. And I'm gonna get you to play Tomb Raider yet
Okay,
because it's
okay, okay.
puzzles.
Nick has one of the games. Like he played. I think he played this one. When it
Yes.
came out. Yeah,
We should play.
we should play. Yeah.
I think you would like it. It is
Okay.
puzzle based. And now that you've seen the movie, you'll kind of know where it's going.
Appreciate it more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, but I like that about it. And maybe that's not typically how movie plots progress. So
But
that
that's
might have felt
okay.
weird to other people, but I
Yeah.
thought it was great. I enjoyed it. And like the more campy the better. I'm like, "Oh no, we have to make these, you know, put these glass artifacts together in such a way that it makes the right color that the light shines through and turns off the thing that's trying to kill us." Like I'm here for it. I love it. Let's read the clues and figure out how to put the pieces together. And they do that throughout the film, and I like that about it, and that they
Yeah.
show her like doing puzzles all the time, even from the beginning of the game, to
That's
get the
true.
initial message from him. It's like showing you that, probably this was a game she played with her dad, and she's a puzzle solver, and she's a thinker, and she's smart, and she's curious, and then you get to see her at work throughout the game. I thought that was a lot of fun. And that like she and her dad figure out when they get into the tomb, and they realize, oh, it's not what we thought. Actually, the whole situation here is that this was some sort of plague, and they were trying to seal it off so that it doesn't get out into the world. And they figure out the clues, obviously. Meanwhile, these, idiot villains don't, because they're greedy and they're just trying to take it. Or I guess they do know that it's a plague, or they know that it's some kind
Hmm.
of powerful force that they want to take back to their leaders, to whatever, get world domination or something. But I like that she figures out how the puzzles work and is able to use those to her advantage to try and get away
Yeah.
and trap the bad guys in there, and eventually does successfully do that. So
Without releasing a pathogen onto the entire world. Yeah.
exactly. Yes, because she actually cares about not killing everyone in the world with this harmful pathogen to
Right.
make a few bucks.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Which
No, I
we
agree. I think
appreciate.
that's good.
Yeah, yeah. So I did like that.
Good.
And I guess another scene that I like, but I don't want to, yes, I do like it. Okay. It's kind of a violent scene, but
Mhm.
part of the character arc, I feel like, is the scene where she eventually successfully wins a fight, and it's after she's been confronted by the Walton Goggins character, and he tries to enslave her with the rest of the people that are working on this project to help him get the virus, and she gets away with the help of Lou. I guess he did help a lot for that part. But she gets away, and then they send that one like commando character or whatever to go track her down. And he finds her, and then they fight. And she, successfully does not get murdered, and in fact, sort of chokes slash drowns him during their
Yeah.
fight. And she's obviously, very upset by it and is not gratuitously killing people. She's kind of shocked and taken aback, but she does manage to survive and not get killed. And I feel like that was kind of one of those turning points for her in her character arc to becoming the Lara Croft character that we think of when we're
Yeah.
playing the game. It's kind of that moment where she's like, oh, okay, I have to be successful. I have to focus. I have to be able to do things competently and take on challenges that seem really, really difficult and insurmountable, but I can do it. And does manage to use her skills that we saw her developing earlier in the
True.
film. Like,
Yeah,
she
it's a good point.
uses like martial arts skills that we see her training at earlier in the film. And I liked that they did that, where it's not like this, oh yeah, and oh, by the way, she's like an
I'm also
expert
a
at all these things
ninja.
for no
Yeah.
reason. Yeah. It was like, oh, okay, we see that she's been training in this and trying to get better, and she got into a scenario where she had to do it, and she did. And she comes away from that a little bit stronger, and more confident. And so I thought that was a really nice scene for that, although it's unfortunate that someone died. But he was a villain.
Yeah. He couldn't take the pathogen to the rest of the world, so he had to go.
Yeah, so it was
Yeah.
it was good that he was not able to carry on with his nefarious plan.
Yeah, and it's a turning point for her where she crosses over from being regular civilian
Hmm.
to Laura Croft.
Yeah, yeah, I think so too. So I enjoyed that scene as well,
Yeah.
and that we have those moments like here and there through the movie. She doesn't just like start out like, oh, it's this invincible cartoonish person that is this way for no apparent reason. She has to actually like kind of go through that character arc to get there. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. So let's see other scenes that were fun or enjoyable. Um, I also like the part where she finds her dad in the cave,
Yeah.
and she's not really expecting that at all. And
Hmm.
I also like that he's not expecting it either. She gets up there and he thinks she's a hallucination or something.
Yeah, that was
He's-
sweet. Like you said, we've learned a lot about the character by this point, and then we get to see him, and he's alive. So she gets that closure that even though
yeah.
he dies, she gets closure, and they get to go on
Yes,
one adventure together.
exactly. I loved that. That was
Oh,
really
that's
cute. And I
nice.
thought they had like they had really good like on-screen chemistry
Family
together in
chemistry.
that
Yeah, I
role.
would agree with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, I thought that was nice.
Yeah,
So that was good. And yeah, those were, I
those
know
are
like
like the
later,
highlights. Yeah.
yeah, I think those were the highlights. Later on in the film, when they're in the tomb, like that part's all fun and everything, but it has a little bit of a like Alien versus Predator vibe to
It
it.
does.
Which I was like, okay, I like this. This is entertaining. I enjoy this,
Yeah.
but I don't know that many of those scenes were remarkable.
Yeah, I
But
could
it was
see that
fun.
influence, and that's fine. It was fun, and you've got to have some fun in this movie. I think,
Yeah.
um, and 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 overall, I think that's why it's gained more of a following since it came out. I
Hmm.
think and I think that's why, even though they lost the rights to it, another studio realizes, hey, like this is something that people enjoy, and I think it may have even better timing now. So, I
Yeah.
also like that in general we picked for like Women's Month,
Yeah.
something fun. Like it doesn't
Hmm.
always have to be serious. We've got a lot of serious things
Yeah.
going on in the world right now. Like it's okay to take a beat and enjoy something and talk about something in a fun way. So like We've grown up with this character, really appreciated her presence, and will continue to. So I think well done on selecting that.
Thank you. Yes, I agree. And I'm so glad that we had a film where I think they really got to portray this character in a way that is a way that we can appreciate, and she's relevant to our time because, of course,
Hmm.
you know, Tomb Raider is a game that's been around since the 90s.
So Kara, if you had to pitch this movie or pick like maybe in a sentence or two, like why you selected this film today or what you like about it. I know you've talked about that for this past
Yeah.
hour, but like if you were to sum it up, how would you sum that up?
Yeah, I would say that, as you mentioned, this is a great film to celebrate Women's History Month with, because Lara Croft is an icon that we've had in popular culture for some time, and I think this is one of the best representations that we have of her, and is a lot of fun, and is at the same time empowering. And also, if you're a gamer, you will like this film. And if
Yeah.
you haven't played the game yet, I recommend the game too. I don't know if I recommend watching the movie first or playing the game first.
Interesting.
Uh, and now that I'm thinking about that, I did not prepare myself to answer that question. Um, I would almost say that you might enjoy the film more if you play the game first and then watch
Yeah.
it, but that's a big commitment. I'm not saying you have to do that.
But I think you shared some thoughts about why, and
Mhm.
I think you're right. It gives you a different perspective on it. I would say, pitch would be, hey, we're in a gaming renaissance with movies
Yeah.
right now. You've got those Sonic films,
Yep.
Mario, and then you've got Fallout and The Last of Us, and you've just got a
Hmm.
lot of different content out there that movies are drawing from. So this
Hmm.
very much deserves to be in the I guess on the list of movies that we talk about that have an impact. So go watch it and tell us what you think. And once again, Kara, great conversation. Love everything we talked about. Love having you on and look forward to having you back soon.
Well, thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun. Can't wait to do another episode.